Hey guys, hope everything's going well. You guys know that drill. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, comment down below. Follow me on Instagram at AIH_sports. Follow me on my finance channel at AIH Finance. So today I'm going to be doing a different type of video. I'm going to be analyzing what the great Curator said on this channel, Pokenomics. This was on August 10th. I was sent this video from a subscriber of mine, and I want to just chime in on some of the things that Dan was saying, and I'll talk about where I agree with him, which is not that much, and where I disagree with him.
Very loud people in the hobby of like pumping and dumping. Yeah. And I had a whole like 2 or 3 months where I had to like defend myself against all these idiots out there. Just didn't understand where I was coming from. And I realized I stopped engaging with them after I realized that we were having 2 different conversations. If you're coming from the mindset of profit first, buy, sell, flip, things like that, then you won't understand the collector mindset. You won't understand why somebody's buying a card that one day is worthless and the next day it's worth a lot of money. You just won't understand that, right? Because you're just thinking that me as a content creator, I'm trying to promote a card to get people to buy it, promising that there's value there, right? But that's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm trying to build a community of collectors that will create a level of demand that will sustain the values on all these cards. And all those people that complain about the market and complain about pumping and dumping, all this stuff, they just don't understand that type of dynamic. So with Star Wars in particular, what I'm trying to do right now is a lot of my content is focused around building a community of collectors around this set of Star Wars cards, Topps Chrome Galaxy, where in my opinion, they're just beautiful cards, and everybody that I expose to that set loves it for what it is.
Okay, a couple of things. So he, first of all, was making indirect comments to people like me where I did videos about him. And he was implying, or he's saying that guys like me don't understand the collector's mindset and what collectors are trying to do, basically. Well, the thing is that if you are buying a card from your buddy and then flipping it from $5,000 to $16,000 or whatever it was, are you really looking out? Are you trying to collect or create a bunch of collectors for this set? So that's the thing. You could say whatever you want, saying that, hey, no, I'm collecting and this and that, but the actions don't match what, in my interpretation, what he's saying. Because a collector is not going to take what is deemed to be a grail card and then sell it within a few months for about 10 grand profit, which he did do well on that. I don't have problems with people engaging in arbitrage. It's just that if you're presenting this as, hey, you're a collector, well, it doesn't make sense to me regarding that. And I wanted to go into, where is it? I think the 1 minute mark. I think he said a few other things here.
And the response to that can be like, well, I like to do things with other people.
Maybe I'll put it back here, close to a minute. Okay, I'll start here. There you go.
We got to see it, Jake. You got to open up the vault. You got to open up the Pokenomics vault and show us everything.
To the museum.
Oh, that's what he's doing. He's building up anticipation for this museum.
Yeah. So I mean, the only area where I'm not even trying pushing back, but I think where someone could push back or say is, why do you want to grow the demand so much, right? Like if it's not about the money, and then the response to that can be like, well, I like to do things with other people, and the hobby is more fun when more people are in it, and a lot of us are doing it all together. And I like when the card values go up, or because I own them, or some combination of that. What do you think about that? Because that's the only place within your argument or within your framework where I could see someone saying, but like, if you are a collector, wouldn't you want like less people, because then prices would be cheaper and we'd be able to buy the stuff we really enjoy cheaper? So that's where that sort of counter argument comes from people. So how would you respond to that?
Let me clarify and elaborate on this.
Okay.
Yeah, if I was really selfish and I just wanted to collect everything at dirt cheap prices, yeah, I wouldn't want anybody to know about this stuff. But it's not that I said that it's not all about the money. Okay, the money is secondary, right? What makes these cards really interesting is that they have value to them. They're not just like a something that you buy at Target, like a toy or something, and you put it on your shelf and suddenly it has no value, right? They don't depreciate these things. Okay, secondary reason that we really love cards and that we're putting a lot of money into cards right now is because they are worth money. So we do want to see our collections rise. It's almost like it's something that we can really take pride in when our collection is very valuable, right? And for a lot of people, if your collection is very valuable and you're able to sell a lot, maybe you can trade up and buy even more valuable cards that you never had the opportunity to, or you can move that money into something else. But money is definitely part of the reason that we collect. Let's not be naive about that, okay? The reason that we had this boom in 2020, COVID and all that stuff, is because all these people came in because suddenly these things that they collected when they were kids that weren't worth anything, suddenly they're worth a lot of money now, right? So we always have to kind of keep that in mind. But we have to do it for the right reason. We have to understand that the value from these cards comes from the demand of these cards, because they're not like you can't take this and go to the grocery store and buy food with it, right? You can't pay for anything with cards. It comes from the collectible value, and the value is based off of that demand, which I keep reiterating that, right? And the only way that we can sustain that value is by continuing to grow the demand, by bringing more people into the hobby and growing it. But we have to make sure that they're in the hobby long term, that they're not just here to flip, that they're here.
Okay, so a couple of things that he said. He made reference to that there is value to these cards. So I'm just thinking out loud. I believe cards could be valuable if it has intrinsic value. I've stated that over and over again. A new Star Wars set, while maybe in the interim, because of hype, you could see a price appreciation, is that hype going to last long term? Maybe a few cards here and there, but for the most part, in my opinion, no, they won't. The cards and collectibles of Star Wars that I expect to hold value are from the 1970s. And if you go to golden auctions right now, you don't see that much traction on the older Star Wars cards. Granted, it may take time, but at the same time, there isn't as much demand for the 77 cards. The Luke Skywalker cards, some of the PSA 8 form, I haven't seen bids as of earlier today. This is what, August 11th. So if you're saying modern cards have intrinsic value, I have to disagree with you on that. Secondly, he's saying that people were buying up cards because they saw it had value during the pandemic. I'm not sure if he understands how, if you have a lot of monopoly money coming from the US government, the Federal Reserve, etc., PPP loans, that money was funneled into the collectibles industry. And then on top of it, the whole industry or a lot of places were shut down. The government said, hey, you are essential, you can be open. And then if you're not essential, you won't be open. And then some basketball leagues, or not basketball leagues, just sporting events, they said that now it's too dangerous for people to come, so we're going to shut everything down. So people had discretionary income sitting at home, assuming they had a job, and they're blowing on collectibles because things were crazy. It was very chaotic. And he even mentioned that he wanted an escape, and that's why he went to the cards. That's why I started my YouTube channel actually in 2020, late 2020. So that's where I actually agree with Dan. But in terms of saying that it's solely, we need to get more people to just get more collectors in Star Wars, that doesn't sound like the best strategy for me. Now, let's look at trading cards are cool again. It's the Josh Luber paper. And as it loads, the thing about Josh Luber's paper, Dan consistently talked about Josh Luber's papers if you look at his videos. And one thing that I mentioned this before, great curator didn't mention, there was something over here regarding hype. And I'll read this to you again. You can see it for yourself. Step 2, flame the demand imbalance to generate brand heat and hype that comes from kids lining up to buy your t-shirts or causing the latest trend to drop on Twitter. Okay. And Luber talks about the hype game, how Nike didn't play it perfectly or properly. And then he talks about to harness the hype cycle and set in motion the virtuous flyway of high prices driving new participants and new participants driving higher prices. The goal is decades of Air Jordans and not a few months of NMDs. Okay. In this paper, Josh is basically saying, hey, you want to consistently get people to buy cards, right? And maybe great curator believes that, hey, if you have these type of products and you keep on hyping it and keep on marketing the way it is, that's the way you're gonna sustain the level of high prices for cards. I disagree. I state that card values go up with the Federal Reserve juicing up the system. Just like they juiced up the steroid. I mean, baseball had players juicing up. Similar concept. The Federal Reserve juiced up the economy and gave more people money to play around with, which juiced up the collectibles industry. So in the interim, short term, you could have some of these Star Wars cards go up for ridiculous prices, even though it appears some of them are shill bid. But at the same time, there are multiple refractor cards you could get on ComC, and they're not too expensive. Okay. And the fact is, the modern day card is greater than some of these cards from the past. That's a red flag. Or they want people to focus on modern cards rather than the past. I think that is a bit absurd. But I just wanted to leave you that. I just wanted to respond because I do believe that we need to talk about these issues. You may not debate me, but at the same time, I do believe that you need to discuss this. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Comment down below, guys. Thank you. Bye.